Yes, it's me. I'm back with another monthly wrap up. I wanted to get ahead of the curve and just post my April and May reads because I don't have that many books, and also because I'm reading Crime and Punishment right now. And listen, it's what, like the middle of May, and I have a feeling I'm not gonna finish this by the end of the month. Like, I might be carrying this until June. So in order to continue with the habit of talking about the books that I'm reading, I wanted to give you guys a quick little video on two books that I read that I just absolutely loved. So the first book I read in April was Yellowface by Kuang. It's a book I'm sure that you have either read already or you've heard a lot about because it's super popular. I have to be honest, I do like Kuang. I read Babel sometime like 2 years ago, and I remember just being fascinated with the way Kuang's brain works. I just found her to be very interesting, very generous with the footnotes. And with the exception of a few instances where I felt like I was getting flashbacks to my 2020 Twitter feed, I'm happy to report that Yellowface makes a much more effective use of that Twitter brain energy. So Yellowface is, first of all, so much fun and interesting. It is a haterade soaked work of fiction. It follows a young, struggling by choice, I'm telling you, white writer named June Hayworth. So June Hayworth is friends with a one-of-a-kind, fabulous, talented writer named Athena Liu. So Athena's like a literary darling. She's out here winning like Litfic awards. And the thing about Athena is that she's Chinese American. This book is interesting in the sense that there's a conversation about how authors like Athena are basically tokenized within the publishing industry and how replaceable they can be as long as the industry is making a buck out of your pain. So one day, Athena and haterade June are hanging out at her apartment, and Athena dies. This is not a spoiler, like, you will see this detail everywhere. The point of this book is that June steals Athena's manuscript, like recently finished manuscript that like nobody knows exists, and she publishes this manuscript under her name. Not June Hayworth though, because she changes her name to Juniper Song. Song is her middle name, but you know what Juniper Song sounds like, right? sounds a little Asian, a little AAPI, bringing in a whole conversation about cultural appropriation and just like who is allowed to tell whose story. Questions I don't have the answers to, but the book tries to answer them by looking at both sides of the coin, if you could say that. A lot of Yellowface is, I would say, very much inspired by what happened with Janine Cummings, the lady who wrote American Dirt. For those of you who don't know American Dirt, it's a work of fiction published by a white lady with a Puerto Rican grandmother. She will not let you forget that. But you know, very much a white lady who wrote a book about like this woman and her son who have to escape Mexico due to cartel violence, and they have to escape it by crossing the border. And she basically wrote a story about what that's like, and she did a bunch of research and whatnot. But like the whole point of it is that people who are in the community don't get like 7-figure advances for stories like these, but like when a white author decides to write a story about the migrants who are crossing the border and just like making it a story about empathy and like, you know, human compassion, and they get a 7-figure check about it. And you know, it began like a whole conversation about who is allowed to tell whose stories. I'm telling you, I don't want no white lady writing a story about crossing the border. That's on me. You do you, but on me, I don't want that from you. No, thank you. So coming back to Yellowface, Kuang basically takes that controversy and applies it to what happens in this novel, which is that the stolen manuscript ends up becoming a big bestseller. There were many things I liked about this book, but there's a particular little detail that I noticed in the first quarter when June Hayworth is editing the manuscript that Athena wrote, and she basically can't get over her bias for her race. She ends up rewriting parts of the book that show like true racism and like genocide, almost to like benefit her race. So she like subconsciously has like a bias against like the violence that like her people cause, and she edits it to like be less serious than it actually was shown in the manuscript. That was good. I thought that was great. And moments like that are spread throughout the entire book. Yellowface, more than anything, is a descent into madness type of story. Let this book be a lesson about who you don't want to become. Like, number one rule, be wary of the lies that you tell yourself. And number two, haters never get to live a peaceful day. This novel touches on racism, victimhood, validation seeking, the dangers of having no self-esteem, and I guess the most fun is like cancel culture and discourse wars on Twitter, which if you're on Twitter, it's kind of fun to read that on a book and just to see what an author does with that, you know? I'm telling you, like, if you look at what happened with American Dirt, you see a lot of that in this book. I don't know if that is innovative, so to speak, but I do think that she did it very well. So I really liked it. I gave it a 4 stars. It was fun. It was great. I had a great time listening to the audiobook. I hated the narrator so much, and I thought RF did a fabulous job, so go read it. Go read it. And if you have already read it, you need to tell me what you thought about it, because this book was fun. The sun is not my friend today. Look at what we're working with. Okay, so next on my list is honestly the best book I've ever read. I'm not lying. I'm not exaggerating. Hand on my chest. If I think about, hey Jocelyn, what is the best book that you have ever read? Yup, it's The Vegetarian by Han Kang. I came into this book very blindly about any details further than what everybody will tell you this book is about, which is that it's about a woman who all of a sudden stops eating meat and how this decision impacts those around her. So this book follows our protagonist, Young Hae. Sorry if that sounds off. Miss Young Hae all of a sudden starts having nightmares. Nightmares about blood, about animals, and she's like, you know what? I want to stop eating meat. Like, I can't do it anymore. One day she tells her husband, sorry, not eating meat anymore. You can eat meat if you want, but not me. And this book basically follows how this decision affects every single person around her, particularly her family. So her husband, her sister, her parents, her brother-in-law. All of a sudden, this decision to stop eating meat awakens an autonomy and a control in her that she lacks in every single aspect of her life. We actually don't really get to hear from our protagonist or really get to see her POV other than her describing like these dreams that she's having that like influence her to stop eating meat. The changes in Young Hae are shown to us through her husband, trash, then her brother-in-law, trash in jail, and her sister, Angel deserves the world. What this book taught me the most about is what happens when a person with little to no autonomy decides to get some one day, and what happens when all of a sudden the people around you realize that they can't control you like they once did. This novel is very much a critique of South Korean culture and the role that women fulfill within the traditional family structure, and how the refusal of one woman to cooperate is like the worst thing they can do for the family unit. I thought this book was brilliant. I found it so disturbing but interesting. It was so well executed. I'm sure you guys know that like this book won the Nobel Prize of Literature back in 2024. Actually, the author won the prize. I agree. Not like I could be the panel of judges, but like I agree with that. The brother-in-law is an absolute pig. Like, I wish him nothing but pain and sorrow. I know he's a fictional character, but I absolutely hate him. There's a point in the book that the author makes. I promise I'm not spoiling anything, but like Young Hae kind of loses her marbles a little bit and fully like stops eating like anything. She stops eating. And the author makes this point about how literally anybody could end up like that, because the amount of pressure that this woman is like carrying is too much for anyone to take. And like one day you or anybody could just lose it and never go back. And I believe that. More than anything, this book is about Young Hae trying to take control of her life through deciding to stop eating meat. So it's a simple decision that like nobody lets her make. No one lets her be vegetarian. No one except, I guess, the sister who's just trying to help lets her just be. One of the ways that she tries to like take control of the situation is by refusing to explain further. I mean, it's not like anyone's asking her. That's the other thing. No one is trying to understand. Everyone is just trying to get her to comply. Like, just eat meat. Like, what do you mean you're crazy? Like, no one is trying to understand why. And a few times when people ask, it's like they don't care. And it's really sad that one of the ways that she tries to like take control of the situation is just by refusing to explain further. The exploration of silence as protest was just very interesting. I know that somebody out there is very much living this life. I just thought there's so many people who occupy a space in this world that only feels valuable based on what it is that they can do for others. And the second that they decide to put themselves first and their desires first, all hell breaks loose. My heart breaks. It was just so sad. But you know what? It was just a very good, very interesting book. I absolutely loved it. I think you're gonna like it if you are interested in exploring the psychology of people and why they make the decisions they make. Ultimately, this book explores that, besides obviously like being a critique on South Korean culture. Go read The Vegetarian, honestly. Go read it and go think about it for a little bit. It was just brilliant. I categorize this book as a very special book. People would call this like a 6 stars book. First of all, a very special book is a book that is so good and so special that it exists outside of like the scale that we use to rate books. Like, it's beyond like a 5-star rating. Like, this is so good. There's no point of giving it a rating because it was just excellent. It was excellent. It was beautiful. It was so well executed. I think you should go read it. This is so well done. Ugh, Nobel Prize. I could see why. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I would love to hear your thoughts if you have read any of these books. Give me recommendations because I'm always looking for them. Like I said, I will be reading Crime and Punishment for the rest of the month, so you may get a review sometime in June. Hey, I only have like 200 more pages left, so we shall see. But anyways, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I hope I get to see you soon. Bye!